Without even seeing his face, you all know who this character was just by looking at the red M on his hat. Also, the title of this documentary sort of gives it away, but that's not the point. The point is, Mario has become one of the most well-known characters in the world. Ever since his debut in the 1981 game Donkey Kong and his own video game, Super Mario Bros., he's gone on to make countless games, toys, t-shirts, plushies, cartoon shows, and so much more. Heck, his new video game, Super Mario 3D Land, just came out for the Nintendo 3DS, which I might add is available at your local GameStop. Not a promotion for GameStop or Super Mario 3D Land. I mean, just look at all the games I have. Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, and 3, World, 64, Sunshine, both Galaxies, Wii, and so many others. And this is my collection of other Mario-related stuff. Yeah, I know, I'm a nerd. But so are thousands of other people. Like all things that become popular, Hollywood wanted to make a movie based on Super Mario Bros. And to everyone's surprise, they did. This movie has a reputation for being the worst video game movie ever. But I wouldn't agree with that. I've seen a lot worse. But its rating on IMDb is a 3.8. On Rotten Tomatoes it has 13%. And countless of reviewers haven't said many good things about it.
This movie wasn't imagined correctly at the outset. They didn't start out with a vision of what it was going to be even before they did everything else. And so you look at the movie and you see millions of dollars on the screen of special effects and all of those customized cars and that other world that they've created and everything else. And it doesn't add up to anything. It's just a lot of people running around, all talking at once, in a plot that nobody cares anything about. And just every once in a while, a little moment that kind of sparkles. Dennis Hopper is kind of good in a couple of his speeches, but it's a complete waste of time and money.
It is, and I think,
Even the cast didn't have anything nice to say. In 2007, Bob Hoskins, who played as Mario, was interviewed, and they asked him this. What is the worst job you've had? What has been your biggest disappointment? If you could edit your life, what would you change? To all three questions, he said Super Mario Bros. He even went on to say this. The worst thing I ever did? Super Mario Bros. It was a f***ing nightmare. The whole experience was a nightmare. It had a husband and wife team directing, whose arrogance had been mistaken for talent. After so many weeks, their own agent told them to get off the set. F***ing nightmare. F***ing idiots. Wow, is it really that bad? Well, let's find out by going back in time to learn the movie's history. Cue the cheesy transition. Do that again. The year is 1990, and the newest Mario game is Super Mario World, which quickly goes on to become a huge success and makes the character even more popular. Hollywood was beginning to notice how successful video games were, and started to think about which ones would work well as a film. Because at this point in time, there hadn't been any movies based on a game. There were movies about games, like Tron and War Games, but nothing actually based on a game. Sometime in 1991, a producer named Roland Joffe decided he wanted to do a Mario Brothers movie. So his studio, Leitmotive Production, went to Nintendo about their ideas, which they actually liked. Probably because they would get the merchandising rights from the film. Once the studio had the rights to the film, they quickly went on to try and sign high-level talent. They went to Danny DeVito to direct and play as Mario. Then they went to Arnold Schwarzenegger and Michael Keaton to play as King Koopa. They obviously passed on it. Even Tom Hanks was briefly signed on to play as Mario, which is odd because he seems more like a Luigi than a Mario, but whatever. The executives thought he was asking for too much money, however, and they fired him, and they got Bob Hoskins instead, which I actually think is a good thing because he looks and acts like Mario. Hoskins was becoming more well-known, thanks to movies like Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Hook, so the executives thought he would be more bankable. While Leitmotive was still looking for actors and a director, the first of many scripts was written. And I mean many. Seems like I'm out of tea. The first script was written by Barry Maru? However you say that. One of the Academy Award-winning writers of the movie Rain Man. but his script was deemed too dramatic. So they gave the project to the writing team, Jim Genwin and Tom S. Parker, who worked on The Flintstones and Richie Rich. Because those were good movies, right? Their version was more of what you'd expect from a Mario Brothers movie. It had Mario and Luigi travel to a magical land similar to The Wizard of Oz and Alice in Wonderland. In this world, the evil King Koopa, who would have been an actual big green lizard instead of a human, kidnaps a princess named Hildy? The hell? What kind of name is that? Anyway, Koopa makes her his bride, so he can get the crown of invincibility. The Mario brothers and their friend Toad would go off on a quest to stop King Koopa and save Princess Peach. Daisy. Hildy. I actually read some of this script and thought it was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it was going in the right direction. Now that's pretty good. What's not good is that once the film got its director, or directors, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, the script would be rewritten again by yet another group of writers, and this script would be nothing like the last. It's basically like they took the good script and drop-kicked it. Not literally. One script was like a sci-fi fantasy film, another was inspired by Die Hard, then by Ghostbusters, so lastly it was like Mad Max. How the hell did I end up on the roof anyway? This Mad Max-inspired script was more sophisticated and adult-oriented. It was kind of similar to what the film is like today, but this script had death races in the desert, sarcastic British political satire, and some adult behavior, if you know what I mean. It was this script that brought actors Bob Hoskins, Dennis Hopper, and Fiona Shaw onto the project. But to their surprise and annoyance, they were given a completely new script by yet another team of writers once they arrived on the set to begin filming. This script took out the political satire and social depth in favor of something lighter and more practical. I'm guessing the directors drop-kicked that last script as well. Now where the hell am I? Anyway, why don't we talk about those directors that Bob Hoskins loves so much? The two directors, Rocky Morton and Annabelle Jankel, were a husband and wife team who didn't have many movie credits to their name. They had only directed one other film before this one, called DOA, which was a commercial and critical bomb. So for a while they just stuck to directing commercials for Coca-Cola and Hardee's restaurants. So they found small success from creating the show, Max Headroom, which I haven't really seen a whole lot of, but from what I saw, it's really weird.
Great. If you see me, give me a wave. I love to see style. I also enjoy a good laugh.
The studio loved Max Headroom's zany vibe and thought Morton and Jankel had the right imagination for a Super Mario Bros. Movie. I'd make some kind of drug joke about that, but I couldn't come up with anything. When they were hired, their vision for the film was much darker and different from the Nintendo games. It took place in an alternate reality of New York, where the dinosaurs were banished after a meteor hit Earth 65 million years ago. And as time went on, the dinosaurs would evolve into humans and grow to hate the mammals, who lived in the other reality, because their world was much nicer. And a portal connects our world with theirs and... Whoa, okay, stop. I think we're getting a little carried away with this story here. I mean, this is supposed to be about the Mario Brothers, and somehow they came up with this? I guess they were taking drugs. With the darker vision the directors wanted, the concept art for the city had a cyberpunk look to it, similar to Blade Runner. Because of this, the studio hired the production designer of that movie, David L. Snyder. Most of the movie was filmed in the Ideal Cement Factory, where other movies like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and The Crow were filmed. Snyder and his crew spent a lot of time and money to turn this abandoned factory into the cyberpunk city known as Dinohattan. I have to admit, even though this looks nothing like the games, it's really cool. Alright, no more changing locations. It's starting to get annoying. Anyway, at this point in production, the film had its actors, directors, sets, and a script. Or at least it had a script. The studio was expecting a light-hearted kids film, and thought the director's vision was too dark. Even most of the cast and crew had signed on with similar expectations. Leitmotiv brought in the writer of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure to write another version of the script, which complicated things for the directors, seeing as how the sets and prosthetics were already made. See, I told you there was many versions of the script. But even as filming went on, rewrites of the script would keep coming in, so much so that the cast just didn't care anymore. They would get the new script and not even bother to read it.
Oh, it's this. Wow. Really? Yep. Another rewrite of the script. Why even bother reading it? It'll probably just get rewritten again. I should put it over here with the others.
During filming, the cast and crew began to dislike Morton and Jankel. They were micromanaging everything. There was even a moment when Morton dumped hot coffee on an extra because he thought he wasn't dirty enough. Everyone was getting burnt out from this film, especially the guy who had coffee dumped on him. Literally. Everyone had their own way of dealing with this movie. For example, John Leguizamo, who played Luigi, described in his book how he started doing shots of scotch with Hoskins, right between the scenes. During a scene when he was driving a van, he was reportedly drunk and braked too hard, causing the sliding door to smash shut on Hoskins' hand. Other actors like Fisher Stevens and Richard Edson, who played a Spike and Iggy, would write their own dialogue. They even created a rap scene starring them. However, this scene was taken out from the movie. The film was now going over budget, it was behind schedule, it had two directors that everyone seemed to hate, and the cast and crew were either drunk, working off script, or completely uninterested. Eventually, the director's own agent told them to get off the set. That's when Dean Semler, the cinematographer, took over as director, and things ran much smoother. But the film was such a mess already that there was no way of fixing it. They soon finished shooting, they made the special effects needed, they made the music, then they put it all together, ready for the theaters. There was a lot of hype for this movie, because it was the first one based off a video game. Plus, it was about the Super Mario Brothers. There were lots of trailers, TV spots, advertisement for the toys, it was on the news, and they kept talking about how great the effects were for the film. The best thing they had was an animatronic Yoshi, who looked amazingly real. Even the people who worked on Jurassic Park were impressed by it. But no one was sure if this movie would fail because of all the problems it went through, or if they'd get lucky and it'd be a hit. The movie finally came out to theaters and people were excited to see it. But Leitmotiv Production soon found out that this wasn't going to be a hit. During its time in the theaters, it only grossed $21 million, and it cost $48 million just to make it. They didn't even make half their money back. The film probably didn't stand a chance because its competition was Jurassic Park. Its dinosaurs just blew away Mario's.
You know, it just don't get no better than this.
It was a sad day for the Super Mario Brothers, but it was even worse for the people who made the movie. So why did this movie bomb? Was it because it was nothing like the games? Was it because it was too dark? Was it because Koopa was a human and not a huge lizard? Or was it because Luigi didn't have a mustache? I bet it's that. Luigi not having a mustache just totally ruined the film. But seriously, I think there's a number of reasons why. It didn't have that great of a story. It didn't look or feel like the video games. It wasn't clear to the audience whether it was aimed towards adults or kids. And it had to go up against Jurassic Park. That's a big enough reason right there. Now with all that's been said, I'm sure you're wondering what I think of the movie. Well, to be honest with you,
I actually like it. And so do a bunch of other people, because there's actually a small cult following for this film. And apparently I got the wrong show playing in the background. Whoops.
There's a whole website dedicated to anything having to do with the movie. It has things you can't find anywhere else, like concept art, deleted scenes, the scripts, and so much more. And it always gets updated every now and then. It's actually where I went to get all the information I needed for this documentary. So thank you, Super Mario Bros. Archive. And just last year, the movie was re-released on DVD. It didn't have anything new added to it. They just moved text around. So it's pretty much the same. Then there's people who are actually trying to get the movie released on Blu-ray, which I would totally buy. So there are people who do like this movie.
Now I'm sure you're asking, why would anyone like this movie? Well, I think it's because the city looks awesome, Bob Hoskins was great as Mario, and there's just something cool about it, in its own way. I mean, that's why people watch The Wizard, right?
Because of how big a bomb this movie was, Nintendo hasn't allowed Hollywood to make any of their other game series in the movies, which is a shame because I would really like to see Legend of Zelda or Metroid. But we may never see those movies until Hollywood can prove to us that they can make video games in the movies. And judging from their track record, let's just say they're not quite there yet.
Well, I guess this is the only movie we'll get from Nintendo. Which isn't a bad thing, because I like it. But if you haven't seen it yet, you should get it. I mean, it's only $5 at Target.
And you never know, Super Mario Bros. The movie might not actually be the worst video game movie ever. In fact, it's probably one of the very few good ones.